Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. In today's lesson, guys, we'll be going over Kevin Eastman and Tom Watts' IDW TMNT 2011 Volume 13 Vengeance Part 2. And yeah, this is the second part of the Vengeance storyline. Last time we covered Volume 12, which was Vengeance Part 1. And yeah, this is the end of the entire Shredder versus Splinter and the Turtles storyline. It's been a while since we covered the IDW TMNT series when we did the last volume review. I have been dealing with some stuff, and the channel has been kind of put on the back burner for a bit, for a few weeks or so, and hopefully that's going to change in these next coming weeks. And recently, I've been able to read this volume basically, and we're going to be trying to get these reviews out every Saturday as we usually do. And yeah, with that being said, we're trying to get the channel back on track and the Turtle video reviews back on Saturday. So hopefully, let's pray for the best and hope that we're able to continue every Saturday bringing the Turtle content. Because I know you Turtle fans love it, and I love talking about the Turtles because I love the Turtles too. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. So this story basically starts off with the Turtles, where the last one left off, with the Turtles being ambushed by like these Mauser flyboards. And it's a really cool action scene. We get to see that Splinter and the Turtles are trying to protect Donatello's body, as Splinter tells them, gives them the order to protect Donatello. Eventually, Raphael, Leonardo, and them and Donatello basically figure out that they're trying to kill Splinter. Splinter's the main objective, so they lead all the Mausers away, the flyboards away from where Donatello's body is resting, and they leave Michelangelo in charge of taking care of Donatello's body. This is where Donatello in the Mecha Turtle's body basically tells Michelangelo that his body will be fine, that they have a plan to keep him safe. So this is where we get to see that, Donatello's friend, the scientist, basically teleports Donatello's body to the lab that him and the Fugitoid are actually working in. So basically try to figure out a way to save Donatello's body, to bring him back into his body and be in peak condition again, or at least in a condition that he can live in and be able to fight with his brothers and just be like how he used to be, to an extent, and maybe even better, as we'll see in this volume. And so after they teleport Donatello's body, Michelangelo and the Mecha Turtles / Donatello basically go off to help their brothers. Now we get to see that the police officer and the other police officer that are taking Hun basically to the police station to go to jail basically gets attacked while they're en route. And it's revealed to us that Old Hobbs and his crew basically are busting Hun out of prison, in a way, from going to prison, and they basically make a deal with Hun, and Hun goes off with them instead of going to jail. So they're going to use Hun for some plot in the future. I'm thinking that Old Hobbs had a theory, he had a hunch that the Turtles were going to solve their conflict with the Shredder soon, so he'd rather get Hun on his side for whatever future scheme he's going to do, whatever future plot he's going to do. So they basically make their escape, and yeah, so Hun gets away from the two police people, and the policewoman basically takes an L in the situation, and she goes back to the police station basically empty-handed, it seems, without Hun. Now we get to see that the Shredder basically is talking with Kitsune, which I really like her character. She has a very villainous dialogue throughout the entire volume, and she hopefully will be a great villain in a future volume, I'm hoping. And she has a lot more secrets to her character, which I think are explained in the Alopets one-shot, which I'm going to have to check out to get more of this character. Because Alopets is a pretty cool character, and Kitsune is a really cool character, so I definitely need to go check out the one-shots for this IDW series. And yeah, we get to see that Shredder is pleased with how well Bastard Stockman's flyboard Mausers are doing to trap the Turtles and Splinter and basically try to kill them. And Karai is displeased with the use of this technology instead of using their foot soldiers to basically get the revenge on Splinter and the Turtles. So she goes off basically to go stop them. So we get to see the battle between the Turtles and Splinter against the flyboard Mausers. Initially, they made their way into the sewer system under the church that they were hiding out in, and we get a really cool set of panels basically showing them swimming in the water. Just some really well drawn stuff. This whole volume is really well drawn. For the person that did the art, very good job. And yeah, so we get, like I said, all these panels, and eventually they make their way onto a bridge. And on this bridge, they're about to, encounter tons of these flyboard Mausers and Alopets, and nobody basically arrive, or Angel, whatever you want to call her, basically arrive to help the turtles, and they get completely surrounded yet again. And it seems like this is going to be quick death for all the turtles. There's just too many flyboards, Mausers to basically fight against. And we skip over to Bludgeon and Koya basically making fun of Bebop and Rocksteady and not understanding why they're still being allowed to work with the Foot Clan despite their personalities clashing with what the Foot Clan basically teaches. And they just look down upon Bebop and Rocksteady. Bebop and Rocksteady are pretty strong and probably are more valuable than Koya and Bludgeon, or Bludgeon, however you say his name. But we do get to see the relationship between these two, this type of friendship slash relationship. I don't know. It's supposed to be like a relationship or a friendship, but overall, really good interaction between two. And it's cool to see their thoughts being full-on mutants compared to Bebop and Rocksteady and how they view them as like half human, half mutant type creatures or abominations, I guess, in their eyes, to the Foot Clan. Now we get to see that Master Stockman basically tells Shredder that the turtles are about to be taken care of, as well as Alopet's Angel and Splinter, whenever his foot soldiers basically arrive and start taking out his flyboard Mausers, basically. And this is where Shredder says that he hasn't given any such order to the Foot Clan, and he calls out for Karai and realizes that she's missing. So it's revealed to us that the foot soldiers basically take out all these flyboards, which shows that they're not really, just straight up jobbers. They'll usually take them for. They're very well trained assassins slash ninjas. And this is revealed to us with the turtles basically being surprised on what exactly is happening. That Karai shows up and says that she wants to basically have the Foot Clan fight against the turtles and Splinter, and basically take their revenge by using the Foot Clan themselves and not some cheap ambush tactic with technology like the flyboard Mausers. But this is where we get to see that Splinter basically tells Karai that, attacking them now with the numbers that she has no honor either, because her whole thing is about being, with honor. She wants the Foot Clan to be very honor bound. So Splinter basically tells her that he is willing to make an agreement with her if she's willing to listen, and we'll see exactly what this agreement was in a bit. And we skip over to the Fugitoid with Harold, and they basically are working with Crane's bodies, like the Crane race, the Ultron race, and it seems like they're going to use some of their material, the stuff that they use to keep themselves alive, to basically reconstruct Donatello's shell that had been broken by Bebop and Rocksteady. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess they're working inside the Technodrome on Burnout Island. So that's really cool. I didn't know they were working there when I first read the volume. But yeah, so they basically made the decision to use this material despite the fact that it might actually kill some of the Ultrons if they don't have enough of that material to basically keep themselves alive and stay alive. So we also get to see that someone arrives to help the Fugitoid and Harold to basically help Donatello. So we'll see who this is, I guess, in a future volume, probably the next volume. With how series usually handles their subplots, we usually get the answers in the next volume. So hopefully we'll see who this is in the next volume. So we get to see that Shredder basically realizes that Baxter Stockman reveals to him that their plan has basically failed because of Karai and the Foot Clan that was following her orders. And he's basically holding his helmet and, taking it off. And Karai shoots an arrow and basically destroys the laptop that he was working with, or that suitcase type device that he was working with, and basically destroys his technology. Which displeases Shredder, basically. He wants her to answer to him, so she bows down and kneels down in front of him, and he's about to, cut her down whenever Kitsune says for him to hear her out, because it's the way of the Foot Clan to, at least listen to the reasons for their disobedience before handing out their judgment. So Shredder basically listens to what Karai has to say, and this is where Karai explains to him that she doesn't want the revenge to be dealt with by technology and by the help of Master Stockman, but instead doing it with the Foot in their own hands and even Shredder's own hands and getting his own revenge. And she has indeed made this possible. And this is where Splinter basically speeds up, and him and Turtles have arrived with Alopets and Angel, and the Mecha Turtle slash Donatello, and they have arrived to basically end this feud between them and have a full-on battle to the death or duel to the death to basically end the conflict once and for all right here and right now. And this is where we're introduced to the idea of the Gauntlet, which is a battle royale between two teams, basically of combatants. And at the end, they basically fight the master. Whoever's team wins basically fights together with their master against the other master. At least that's how it's explained. Shredder isn't going to take the bait. Basically, at first, is going to attack them with the foot soldiers all around them, basically trying to get an easy victory. But Kitsune basically explains that he needs to actually go through with the fight because the Foot Clan has to respect, their leader. And him taking the easy way out isn't gonna, get him respect. He has to defeat his opponent, especially with how long they've been going at each other throughout the last few years. They need to, finally end this conflict in a duel, a hand-to-hand duel, weapon-to-weapon duel. So Kitsune basically shows her manipulative, personality. She tries to manipulate Shredder, and even in the panel where she's talking to him, you see all this hallucination type, smoke in the background, which is really cool, from an art choice, and it's even shown on her clothes. So I don't know, it's very weird. It's implied that she's actually using magic to persuade Shredder, but either way, this was the best route to go down, because the story would be boring if it was just flat out getting ambushed. And this idea of the Gauntlet is actually really cool. So Master Stockman basically leaves as Shredder accepts the Gauntlet between the Turtles and Splinter, as he brings his people forward as well. And, Kitsune basically stands to the side, and Alopets and Angel stand to the side with her as they watch the Gauntlet basically begin and see this duel to the death basically play out. And no matter what happens, this is going to end the conflict once and for all. So it's very exciting getting to this point in the story and knowing that in this volume we were going to get the conclusion to all these volumes of build-up. And we get this really cool splash page with Michelangelo basically saying that man, I still can't believe this, because he didn't want a fight to the death, and it's explained to him with the rules of the Gauntlet that, even though they might not have to kill Shredder's goons, basically, all these mutants that are mutants like them, Splinter's gonna have to kill Shredder, or Shredder's gonna have to kill Splinter. And basically the rules of the Gauntlet are, whichever master dies, you have to kind of back away from that family, basically. So there will be no revenge afterwards. It's straight up honor bound to leave the family alone after their master is dead. So really cool plot line to take the series in this finale. So we get to see them basically talk to each other before the fight begins, and Splinter basically tells Michelangelo, because he doesn't want to actually kill anybody, that this isn't going to ever end until one of them is dead. So even though, like I said, he doesn't have to kill his opponents, Splinter will have to put it into his hands to kill Shredder to end the threat once and for all against their family that they've been dealing with for the last few years. So finally, they basically do a bow to Karai. Shredder and his goons basically do the bow as well. Shredder and his mutants do the bow, and then Karai says, "Let the Gauntlet commence," and the battle begins between the Turtles and the mutants. And these action scenes are really well drawn. I like that every turtle got a time to shine, as well as all the different mutants got times to shine as well, and they weren't pushovers at all. And while they're basically fighting, we get to see that Shredder and Splinter are basically meditating slash giving advice to their teams. At first, the mutants have the advantage and they're beating the Turtles pretty badly. Splinter has to give them some advice, and while that's happening, he's trying to get the Turtles to get themselves back up. You see that Alopets basically is having an interaction with Kitsune, which it seems they have some type of connection, which I guess was explained during Elopets' one shot, so I will have to check that out so I can have more context for that. But there definitely is connection between the two in this volume, so that was really cool. The fight continues, and we get to see Donatello use his laser beam on Rocksteady, which was really cool. They got a little bit of revenge for him breaking his shell. And he has a flamethrower as well. They try to use against the other mutants. They give some distance for him and his brothers to come up with a plan. And he even tells them that he doesn't have forever, he doesn't have too long, they can be doing this, so they have to come up with something fast. And this first Splinter basically tells them to start using their teamwork to fight against their stronger opponents. And Shredder basically tells them that they need to try finishing this fast already, and just try to end it, basically, in the Turtles. And the fight continues. Like I said, we get a lot of cool action panels. We see Splinter basically meditating, and he starts going into like flashbacks and stuff like that. We get to see that Bebop and Rocksteady are just too durable to basically be taken down, and Raphael and Michelangelo basically come up with the idea to try to use the two strengths of them against each other, which is cool. We get to see that the Fugitoid and Herald basically are able to reinstate Donatello's shell, and whoever's helping them, the scaly like green dude, basically looks kind of like a crocodile. To be honest, he basically puts in this like ooze type thing that was keeping the Ultrons alive. So we'll see what happens with the Ultrons probably in that volume. I'm guessing that will be explained if they survived or not, or if that actually killed them. But they go back into the fight, and we can see that Leonardo basically cuts the wings of Koya, and this puts her to the ground. And while that's going down, we get to see that Michelangelo and Raphael are basically fighting against Bebop and Rocksteady, and they basically cannot be put down by hand-to-hand means. But they are still being dealt with by Raphael and Michelangelo, which seem to be having fun fighting against them, knowing that there is a way to defeat them. Hopefully, if they keep, tiring them out, maybe they'll be able to win. We get more interactions with Elopets and Kitsune, and I'm hoping that there will be a fight between the two in a future volume if Kitsune becomes a major antagonist in a future volume. And I hope that she's not dealt with in like one volume. Hopefully, she's like an overarching villain. Maybe she will be the next overarching villain. If not for the villain that we'll talk about at the end of the volume that ends the volume off. But yeah, so we have that, and we also get to see that Angel does notice that Elopets keeps spacing out because Kitsune keeps talking to her. And what's crazy about it is that all this stuff, like I said, it's not told so as if you can actually see it in in real time, or if it's just like a way for the artist to let you know that she's using her powers, because it doesn't seem like Angel notices that Kitsune is giving off this aura of energy. And she even tells Elopets, why she keeps spacing out, that she, if she's even seen the fight. And the fight is continuing, and we get to see that Koya is almost going to get, either killed or massively damaged by Leonardo. And this sort of bludgeon basically hits him with his tail and tells Leonardo that she's basically had enough and that she's done. This is where Leonardo basically realizes that he might have almost went too far. And I think Leonardo's the only one in this battle of the Gauntlet that basically was willing to, or almost willing to kill his opponent, if not, being in the heat of the moment and realizing how dangerous this whole situation is, and the rules of the battle, basically, that you could kill your opponent if you wanted to, but none of the other turtles, I think, attempt to do that, so it could be seen as Leonardo having a moment of, failure. He basically came up short on himself, in that you don't expect him to be the one to almost kill his opponent. So I really like that, and I like risks like that the writer takes to basically give more depth to Leonardo's character, and that he does make mistakes sometimes. So I really like that scene. We get to see that Donatello in the Mecha Turtle suit tells Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo that he realizes that they're not going to be able to beat Bebop and Rocksteady in hand-to-hand, as Raphael and Michelangelo have been trying this entire fight to basically take them down like that. It's not working. So he basically came up with an idea to basically take them down, and he activates his self-destruct sequence after he tells them that, that he'll see them later, and that's been a blast. And, no pun intended, I guess, or pun intended. and he explodes in an explosion. And this hits Bebop and Rocksteady basically at point blank range. Even Shredder's basically surprised that Donatello would actually do this. And everyone's basically surprised to see everyone's surprised expressions. And to everyone's surprise, Bebop and Rocksteady basically are not knocked out, despite being hit at point blank range by an explosion. Despite, that explosion not being too big, it definitely should have knocked them out, and it didn't. So again, it shows high durability of these characters. But it weakened them enough to be able to be knocked out by Donatello's bow staff, which has been upgraded. Seems to be using steel instead of, wood, like his old bow staff was. So this is definitely way more dangerous, and I don't think that's ever been done for Donatello's character before, with him having a steel bow staff. I didn't even notice it the first time I read this. But the Turtles are basically surprised that Donatello is back in the flesh, and yeah, he's back. So he was gone for what? I think like 2 volumes? I wasn't expecting Donatello to be gone out of his body for that long, so I am impressed that he's back, and I'm okay with it. Because they did give some time for him to basically have to deal with being in that Mecha Turtle body. So yeah, Donatello's back, and we get to see them basically have the reunion, and Donatello basically having his reunion with his dad, as well as his brothers, and it's really cool, the scene. And now that the mutants have been defeated, it's finally come time to basically face against the Shredder, and this is where we get to see that they basically get very serious, as they know this is basically the ultimate moment between them and the Shredder, and that this is do or die, basically. He's not going to hesitate to basically kill them, so this is a very serious fight. Being the challenger, I think he's the challenger, Shredder, he basically gets to pick where they're going to fight, and he basically says that he wants to fight them on the rooftop. Now, this was an amazing moment when I read it, when I read this volume, because this is a clear callback to the first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the Mirage run, the OG 62 issue run. And what a way to end off the entire Shredder storyline, with us getting a remake / retelling of that classic issue, with the difference being that there is no foot soldiers fighting the Turtles before the Shredder, and Splinter's there the entire time waiting for his turn to fight against the Shredder, to jump in to help his sons. And the whole point of this scene basically is a fight between the Turtles, but also for Splinter to meditate and figure out the answer to how he can beat Orokusaki, aka the Shredder. And yeah, so the battle begins, and this is one of the most well choreographed, well drawn fights in the series, and it shows the skill gap between Shredder being a master and the Turtles still being students. And they do land hits on the Shredder, but as they quickly find out, the hits that they are landing, he's allowing them to hit him so that he can get them all close together and basically takes them all out really fast with hard, powerful hits. And we get just really good shots between him and the Turtles. Eventually, he almost kills Leonardo as he blocks his sword attack and basically grabs him by the throat, basically, but is attacked by Donatello with his steel bow staff, which definitely had to hurt. And Shredder doesn't even look phased, and he just straight up grabs this bow staff that's made out of steel now, while Donatello is spinning it, which is an insane feat, and just makes quick work of Donatello. And he does the same to Raphael and Michelangelo as well. While they're having their battle, Splinter basically has a flashback to when him and Orokusaki basically were kids fighting on a tree stump, basically on top of a water, like a pond or a river or something like that. And something you would see in ancient, Japanese movies and stuff like that. Stuff depicting Japanese training and that of ninjas and stuff. You see stuff like this, in Naruto, that anime / manga series Naruto. You see stuff like this with the characters of Madara and Hashirama, similar stuff. That's what it reminded me of. If anyone that's watching this reads or watches Naruto, you'll get what I mean by that scene, but that's what it reminded me of. So Splinter's dealing with that, and the fight is continuing, and we get to see that Raphael gets damaged by Shredder. Basically, he throws one of his sides to Shredder, and Shredder just grabs it in midair, throws it back into Raphael's leg, I believe it's his left leg, and it damages him. and we get to see that Michelangelo basically attacks Shredder, but it's not good enough, even with Michelangelo using anger, which he never really uses, and definitely has a lot of potential, with probably the most potential out of all the turtles in the original Mirage run. I'm not sure how it's going to play out in the IDW run, because it hasn't really been playing out the same way as the Mirage run, and how they can handle Michelangelo's character. But in the Mirage run, he had the most potential out of all of them. When you read that series, it's heavily implied that he has the most potential out of all the turtles in combat if he took it seriously and would get more serious with his training. But that still doesn't matter with this rage boost or whatever, rage attack, because Shredder, again, makes quick work of the turtle. So we get to see finally that Splinter gets his answer, as he says, and he grabs Donatello's, steel bow staff, and he begins his fight with the Shredder. Now, granted, Shredder is a normal human, and Splinter is a mutant rat, and he's using a steel bow staff. So the hits that he's doing on Shredder, especially the one to the head that you see, is crazy. That Shredder, as we're gonna see, Splinter's not holding back. He's actually intending to kill Orokusaki, aka the Shredder. So him going for that swipe right after he hit him in the head with the steel bow staff is crazy, that Shredder was able to dodge that and still attack Splinter and catch him off guard and knock the bow staff out of his hand. So Splinter basically uses Michelangelo's nunchucks and tries to attack Shredder. He blocks it with his steel arm braces, or whatever those are called, and he gets hit on the gut basically with this nunchuck, which definitely would have broken a few ribs or something, if he hit him in that area. And still, Shredder just hits, Splinter across the face and makes blood gush out. Basically, again, showing ridiculous durability, considering this is a mutant hitting him, and you can just imagine how much force that was hitting him in the ribs or the gut, whatever it was. He basically picks up another weapon of his son's, basically the size, and goes to attack Shredder. Shredder basically gets, I think, nipped by it just a bit, and he basically nips Splinter as well. And Splinter, finally, after using all three other weapons from his sons, he grabs Leonardo's katana and basically tells Shredder that he finally realized how to defeat him. This is where we get the final blow, in a way, of the fight that kind of ended it, in that, Splinter basically tells him that he never feared him, basically, he never feared the Shredder. And we see slices through him with Leonardo's katana. It slices, right through his chest, or it's implied he cuts his chest. So he's basically just starts bleeding out and stuff, and he's basically gonna die. And you can't believe that the speed that Splinter basically came at him at, and basically that he was willing to actually land a killing blow, which I think is what took Shredder off surprise. I do think Shredder could have dodged this attack, but he never thought that he would actually go for the kill, and that he probably would try talking it out or something. And this is where we finally get, Splinter basically explaining that he, wishes that things had been different, and that, they would have always remained friends. That they used to, play and spar against each other, at the river in the forest. And this is where Orokusaki basically explains that he too wishes that things had been different, but this is just the way he was, and that at the end, he can, at least, he says, I choose a warrior's honor, and chooses to basically take himself out in a way, or, at least damage himself, and then allow Splinter to basically kill him. So before he kills himself, he basically tells Karai to take care of the Foot Clan, and Kitsune basically, he tells her that he'll see her in the afterlife, or in another life. I think it was the afterlife, he said. And he says that he hopes that him and Hamato Yoshi, basically, Splinter, basically will see each other in the forest again. I'm not sure if he says as kids again, or, them as adults, but he basically lands the killing blow with his own Shredder, claw thing that he wears all the time. And he says that he hopes that you'll see him in the forest again, brother. Because they did consider each other brothers. And this part really surprised me, because Splinter basically says that, I do not doubt it, my brother, and he basically decapitates the Shredder, basically, and it's shown on panel. It doesn't show the head basically flying off. But the fact that they showed the panel with him slicing through the head was crazy, and I couldn't believe that that was a page or a panel in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic. And we get to see that Splinter basically looks at what he's done and looks away. And he knows that this is an act that, some of his sons are not going to accept. As we see that, he hands Leonardo the bloodied katana that belongs to him, basically, with the blood of the Shredder's decapitated head on it, which is crazy. I mean, it's the blood of the decapitated head, but also the blood from the chest wound that he inflicted upon him as well, I would guess. But yeah, so Mikey can't believe that Splinter actually killed the Shredder instead, trying to make a better option. And, Leonardo basically is protective of Splinter as Karai goes up to talk to him, as she calls out to him. And he basically tells Leonardo to stand back, and he wants Karai to tell him if she's going to continue the revenge that her grandfather was doing. And this is where Karai explains that the Gauntlet was a battle of honor. Basically, they had rules, and they are determined to live by those rules despite them not winning the battle. And that she's gonna, I think, take the foot with her to Japan. That or she alone is heading back to Japan. So we won't see Karai probably for a few volumes, which I'm pretty sure she'll come back eventually. But Splinter does tell, I think Splinter tells Karai that he wants Kitsune basically to stay with them to make sure that she doesn't try to overtake, I guess, the foot and basically try to come after them again. It was either that or he said for Karai to basically keep her with her and basically keep an eye on her, which makes a lot of sense considering what they just went through. And that, Splinter's gonna be hesitant to believe that, they're just gonna be good from now on, basically leave them alone, and basically leave New York City. So really cool development, and we get to see that he allows Karai to basically keep the sword of, I think it was the Shredder sword, or maybe it's Karai's sword, I don't know. Maybe it was Splinter's sword originally, but he basically says that it's your sword now, basically, and hands it to her. And she basically gives control of the Foot Clan that's in New York, if I'm correct, to Splinter, and basically accepts being the leader of the Foot. Which, again, we have to remember that in this iteration of the story, him and Shredder basically both were candidates to basically take over the Foot. So it's not like the original Mirage run where he was never a candidate, if I'm correct, to actually run the Foot. That was, in the future with the Rokusaki, because he was the brother of the one that was killed by Splinter, if I'm correct, in the original Mirage story, original run. So after seeing that Splinter is going to become the head of the Foot, therefore making the Turtles part of the Foot, Michelangelo throws down his nunchucks or drops his nunchucks, basically says they can't do this anymore, you can't be a part of this. So he basically leaves his brothers and Splinter and Karai basically on the rooftop, as well as Kitsune. Kitsune basically is told, that Kitsune basically has to stay in, New York City, and that Splinter's basically going to keep his watchful eye on her, basically under my watchful eye, he says. So, Kitsune, I'm guessing, is going to be part of the reason, of a rebellion of the Foot Clan basically going against Splinter's rule, and basically trying to get it back to the way Shredder had it, therefore making her the main antagonist. I'm guessing that's where the story's going to head next few volumes. And yeah, overall really good. We jump into the end with, us seeing, I guess, the decapitated body of the Shredder, and we get to see, Splinter basically holding the Shredder's helmet that he wore while he ruled the Foot Clan all these years and decades, I guess. I think it was explained that Rokusaki was brought back by Karai, so I'm not sure how long he's been ruling the Foot Clan in the modern era, but I'm guessing it would be around the time that Splinter and them basically were brought back as well. At least that's what I would think story-wise they would have done. And we get flashbacks of Splinter basically thinking of him and Rokusaki as kids in the forest playing with each other. And we get to see the Turtles basically looking at the city without Michelangelo, and basically Splinter holding Shredder's helmet, basically overlooking New York City and realizing that this is their destiny and that they have to embrace. Says we embrace our destiny, overlooking New York City, as this is a new set. This is a whole new storyline from this point forward, and it's gonna be interesting to see how the storyline is gonna evolve with other characters, and without the Shredder's influence, at least right now. And well, I'm pretty sure he'll come back in the future, but as he did in the original Mirage run. But we'll see how he comes back in the future if he does. And the final page we get of this volume is an epilogue, and we get to see that Crank actually was there during the execution of the Turtles and Splinter, while Orokusaki basically was executing them with the Foot Clan, basically telling them to execute them. I think Shredder executed Splinter himself, but I can't remember the scene. It was like in the first 2 volumes, I think, and maybe in other volumes too, the flashback. But we do get to see that General Crane is with other Ultrons, especially he's with one Ultron with him. And it's revealed to us that General Crane was there with other Ultrons, it seems, or at least one Ultron, to basically see the execution. So he's been there the entire time, since the beginning of, as far back as we can see in the timeline, around that era of when Splinter basically betrayed, or Hamato Yoshi basically betrayed the Foot Clan, and was with his wife. And yeah, that was Kevin Eastman and Tom Watts, IDW TMNT 2011, Volume 13, Vengeance Part 2. And yeah, what a good solid volume. This ended the entire Shredder storyline. This was 13 volumes basically in the making, or 12 volumes in the making for this finale. And yeah, I might make a video explaining the first 13 volumes and my overall thoughts of this entire first portion of the story, because it clearly is a portion of the story, because it's made very clear with the final 2 pages of the story that from this point on the story is going in a completely new direction. So there might be a video explaining my thoughts on the first 13 volumes of the series as a whole, and if I recommend it or not. But overall, I really did enjoy it. I thought the action scenes were great. The dialogue is always great. Kevin Eastman's an amazing writer, and with the help of Tom Watts, I guess, helping him, just makes it, very good. I wouldn't say better than the original Mirage run, that's just a classic, and the writing's really good in that. But Tom Watts is definitely a good writer as well, because he doesn't seem to take away from Kevin Eastman, or vice versa. They work really well together. So good on them. The artwork was fantastic. I think it was like Santo Laco, and Smith is, I guess, the letterer, or the person that does the inks. Overall, everyone that worked on the volume did a really good job. Everything was great about it. Definitely like a 10 out of 10 volume. One of my favorites, if not my favorite, the entire series so far. And I'm really looking forward to Volume 14 as we start a new chapter in the storyline. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see if the antagonist is going to be Kitsune or it's going to be Crane, this next portion of the story. And yeah, like I said, I don't know how big the next portion is going to be. If it's going to be a few volumes on. It's going to be like this, like 13 something volumes on. But I'm hoping that whoever the next big antagonist is does a really good job and they get a good climax like Shredder did. Shredder got a very good climax that was like a callback to his original appearance in the first issue of his fight with the Turtles, but this was more like revamped and was really well done. And it wasn't a rehash. It had its own charm to it. And maybe I'll make a video comparing this one to the original. That would be a really fun video. And yeah, overall, be sure to subscribe if you're a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're covering the IDW run right now. We're going to cover volume 1 through 23, I believe. And once we cover all 23 volumes, we're going to see if we're going to continue into the Reborn era. Because I know that's very controversial, that era. The new modern era, as you can call it, TMNT. But we'll see when we get there. Right now, we're just covering the original IDW Volume 1 to Volume 23 run, and it's going to be great. Like I said, I don't believe the Reborn is a reboot, so I guess I shouldn't say run. But I have heard different mixed things about it, but we will talk about it when we eventually get to that volume, those volumes, basically. But like I said, if you're a fan of Turtles, be sure to subscribe. We're going to be trying to drop a volume review every Saturday. From this point forward, so hopefully you guys check it out and go check out my other turtle videos on my channel. Videos will be at the end card at the end of this video. But until next lesson, guys, God bless you, and until next video, keep on reading those comments.